Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are we all doing this fine day? Good morning to everyone over on Instagram. Good morning to Dan Cullen, who was first off the mark this morning. Good morning to Mark Whiting, to Gary Muirhead, and to our friend Footy, who's just joined us in the chat. Good morning, one and all. How the devil are you doing? Good morning to Jim Turner as well. I will get to pressing the buttons to say an official good morning to everybody, but good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Hope you're all fit well. We're going to start today with some breaking news. Yes, breaking news. That's how we like to start the day. The Plantworks exhibition will return for its sixth outing next year in its new home at the Newark Showground up near sort of Lincolnish, if memory serves me correctly. The relocated show will take place from the 23rd to the 25th of December. No, September, because that would be Christmas. 23rd to the 25th of September. Those of you that have followed the evolution of Plantworks will know that the first three were heavily rained upon, so they moved it back into summer. The last Plantworks was baking hot, and now they've moved it back even further into September. Knowing British weather as I do, they could get, well, we could all get sunburn or we could all get washed away. We shall see. Also worth noting, the show will take place on Jim Turner's very doorstep, so I'm expecting him to lay on the tea, coffee and bacon rolls each morning. I'm looking at you, Jim. And speaking of Plantworks, you know, the public face of Plantworks just joined us. Lou Carney. Morning, Lou. And great news. Thank you very much indeed for sharing that with us. Looking forward to Plantworks 2025. That's how far out we plan these things. 2025, September, in fact, 2025. So best part of 18 months away, but looking forward to it already. So thank you very much indeed for that. Hope to see as many of you there as we possibly can. Let me take that away. I'm also going to say good morning to Glenn Johnston as well. And there is Lou saying, how excited are we? Very, very. Now, I mean, obviously, we do need to get through Intermat, Hillhead, Mine Expo. Is there a Con Expo next year? No, but I'm not sure, but there's certainly a Bauma next year, I think. So we've got a lot to get through before we get to Plantworks. So please look after yourselves, would you? And Andy Hare says, are we halfway to Friday yet? Yes. Well, in an hour or two, we are halfway to Friday. And yes, Lou says we have got to get through Bauma. We do indeed. It's a long drive up for me. Worth it though, Footy. It is Plantworks after all. I'm going to say good morning to Ram Demolition, who have just joined us over on Instagram. And just in case you were one of the later arrivals, I can confirm. There you are. There you are. Plantworks 2025, 23rd to the 25th of September, not December as I said before, and it's taking place at the Newark Showground. Keep watching this space because I'm sure there'll be more news on that as we go along. Speaking of events, the NFDC, the IDE and the Health and Safety Executive are once again joining forces to bring you more of what they described as planning masterclasses. They did this last year, and the word was that they were very poorly attended, which might explain their choice of venue for the next one. Just saying. So, yes, let me get rid of that because we do need to crack on. If that's not enough, and I'm sure it's not enough, it is a Wednesday morning, so I have a brand new column out today. I say it's brand new, but we kind of discussed it on the show yesterday. In fact, when we were discussing it, I thought the article was about sort of 95, 96% written. But following on from our conversation, I went back, rewrote part of it, and then added an entirely new section. If you care to read the article, which is called Show Me the Value, you can do so using the link that I'm about to post in the chat. Bear with me 1 second. I have the technology. There you are. As I say, it's called Show Me the Value. You can use the link, but if you're in our WhatsApp group, don't bother with any of that because you've already seen the link and you can have a look at that at your leisure. And let me know what you think. Always like to get the feedback if you would be so kind. Love to hear what you think of anything that we produce, be it on this show or in writing or anywhere else for that matter. Now, without further ado, bearing in mind that yesterday's intro took half an hour, I'm going to cut to the quick today. Now, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, which I do have standing by, and get this show on the road. Now, sticking with the plant works theme, I've just had this from Jim Turner, who says, good morning, Jim, by the way, I'll only be going for one day, Mark. If the missus pops up on here, ask her to make your breakfast show Victoria sponge cake for plant works. I will. I mean, I was looking forward to plant works already. But if there's cake involved, count me in. Count me in. I'm going to say good morning also to our friend Steve Williamson, who is also in exhibition mode. Is this your last day, Steve? Or is that tomorrow? Can't remember, but he's all fired up for Intermat next week. If you are going to Intermat, then please, please, please look out for Steve. He'll be on the Kins Offer stand, wowing the crowds with his skills and capabilities. And there is Luke Harney saying, I want one too, Jim Turner, Jim or Mrs. Jim. 2 cakes, please, on the 23rd of September next year. You've got plenty of time to plan it, so make it a nice big one. It is, there we are, last day today, 7 a.m. flight tomorrow morning. Good luck, Steve. I look forward to seeing you in Gay Paris. I'm hoping the two of us can make it marginally less gay, but hey, you know, he's a handsome man. What the hell? It is Wednesday, the 17th of April. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the walrus of demolition. In today's wheel loader led show, the case 651G wheel loader. Is it hot or is it not? Liebherr unleashes its X-Power. XCMG puts its wheel loader through its paces. And Komatsu and the joy of hybrid. Good morning to Digger pulling levers over on Instagram. Plus, we're going to catch up with Engcon ahead of next week's Intermat exhibition. But before we get to all of that, we do have the small matter, the very small matter of our question. No, not our question of the day. Mystery machine. Let me roll this while I get my ducks in a row. Just need to clear up a few bits in the chat. So there is one nice article today. Thank you very much indeed for that, Steve. It was a good read. That we aim to please, so it looks like we pleased at least one person. Mick Norton's joined us. Morning, Mick. Good of you to join us as always. And there is Gary Muirhead. Apparently, Jim Turner or Mrs. Jim is going into the cake business. She doesn't know it yet, but she's going into the cake business. I mentioned our mystery machine. Let's have a look. This is what you have to work with. You have a wheel. Just a wheel. If anybody can tell me what that is, there is a hint of colour on that. I don't know whether you'll be able to see it on very small screens, mobile screens and what have you. There is a hint of colour there, and the hint might be a giveaway. Might not, but it might be. If anybody's got any clues on what that might be, please let us know in the chat. And while you're figuring that out, let me very quickly remind you of our question of the day. Yeah, nice simple question for you today. What is or what was your favourite decade? Personally, born in the 60s, raised in the 70s, came of age in the 80s. In terms of fashion and music, it will always, always, always be the 80s for me. Also, the decade in which I left home and in which I met my wife. All good news. But what about you? Let us know in the chat. We'll come back to that after the show. I'm going to say very quick good morning to Mark Fitz over on Instagram. Good to see you here, Mark. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let us know your answers to the question of the day in the chat. While you're doing that, let me play this. Yes, there we are. Sarah Jane Turner. The cake orders are mounting up. They are. Listen, I would travel many a mile for a Victoria sponge, I have to say. First guess on our mystery machine, which, as we know, looks like that, comes from Andy Dalvell, who says, is it a Wacker Neuson cab dumper? No, it is not one of those. It isn't. Keep the guesses coming. Ken Hatch has just joined us all the way from Welsh Wales. Good morning, Ken. I promise, get around to pressing some buttons in a minute to officially welcome you all. Just on the roll at the moment. Now, under normal circumstances, when I ask you to decide whether a machine is hot or not, I generally prefer it for it to be the first time you've ever actually seen it. That's not the case today. Case being the operative word. Case has been slowly leaking details of its 651G wheel loader for some time now. We've already featured the machine once, possibly even twice. But the film I'm about to show you really gets under the skin of the machine. So while you're watching this, please get out your voting cards and let me know if you think the Case 651G is hot or if it's not.
Loading performance is now at the top of the category. In the Z-bar version, we obtain a height of bucket pin of 3.94 meters from the ground, over 10 centimeters more than the 621G model. In addition to dump height increased by 10 centimeters, the performance in terms of payload is also best in class in the category, with a payload in the bucket of 5.2 tons. In short, maximum load performance for maximum productivity. Thanks to the increased loading performance, today on the 651G, Case, alongside the equipment already in the price list, offers the new 2.6 cubic meter rehandling bucket, particularly designed for handling of inert material and aggregates. The offer of the new buckets is also extended to the 721G, 821G, and 921G models, with capacities of 3.2, 3.6, and 4.2 cubic meters, respectively. The geometry of the rehandling buckets, with the curved side edge and optimized design of the upper spear guard, ensures better retention of the material and greater protection of the bucket kinematics during the loading and transport phases.
Let me take that off. My opinion counts for nothing, which is why I don't vote in these things. I think that looks a good machine, and Dan Cullen has just said a hot-looking kit. Yeah, I totally agree. Mick Norton says, never liked the concept of a single ram for the bucket. I think it looks a good machine, but with the theme of my latest article, that one, Show Me the Value, still ringing around my head, I didn't see much in that to really change the wheel loader landscape. I'm sure it's an improvement of the model that went before, but does it actually move the goalposts? What say you? You're the expert. It's not me. I just sit here and press buttons. Now, we were looking at the mystery machine. We've had a couple of guesses. Where are those guesses, if I can find them? I have to go quite a way back. I know that somebody, there you are, Andy Darvell said, is it a Wacker Neuson cab dumper? It is not one of those. And is it an Alsa forward tip dumper? It is not one of those either. So let me show you a little bit more. There you are. Bit more to work with. I hope that helps. I don't believe it will. Let's have a look. Gary Muirhead has just gone for the Mechalak EMDX. It is not one of those. Good morning to Earl Fallon, who's just joined us over on Instagram as well. Morning, Earl. Good to see you here. Hope you're fitting well, my friend. Let me take that away. We'll come back to that in the fullness of time because we do need to press on with a smidgen of this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
So, we've just seen a new wheel loader from Case. We've got a new wheel loader on its way from XCMG. But first, we're stopping off with the mighty Liebherr to see one of their awesome wheel loaders. This is the X-Power wheel loader, and this is how you get it ready for a day's work. Pretty smart. I think you'll agree. Couple of things. The question I'd ask, why are shovel cabs so compact? Good question. Chris Ford says, good morning. Nearly went absent without leave, but good to see you here regardless. Liebherr, great showing of pre-start checks rather than usual mundane sales splurge from other competitors. I agree, which is why I brought it to you. Footy reckons that is very hot to you. Dan Cullen also says, a tidy shovel. The very, very important news, I'm bringing you bad news live and in action, is we've heard from Sarah Jane Turner, who we were all banking on to make lots of cakes for Plantworks in 2025. She's just come back and said, when would I have time to make cakes? I've got to be honest, Sarah Jane, I feel slightly disappointed because, you've got 18 months to plan. Surely Jim would allow you a day off, or you would allow yourself a day off to go and bake some cakes for the fine ladies and gentlemen of the Breakfast Show. 18 months you got to plan on that. There's my other half. Yes, I'm back at work. Don't start till 4 p.m. today. Yes, and he's probably expecting a lift because that's how things work. Now, Mystery Machine, I can tell you we've had a couple more wrong answers, but we've got somebody that's on the right track. One of those is our friend Footy, who is asking, is it a Bobcat? It is not. But Steve Williamson, who's fast becoming a bit of an expert in this field, has said Manitou forklift. Now, I need something more specific than that, but yes, it is one of those. I need to know specifically which one of those it is, but yes, you're very much on the right track. Ken Hatcher has just asked, because he arrived a bit late, I can tell you, let me see, I've actually got a slide to go with this. There you are. Plantworks in 2025 is going to be the 23rd to the 25th of September, and it is taking place at the Newark Showground in, not surprisingly, Newark, sort of Lincolnshire way. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not looking at a map, but that's where it's taking place. Ken, I sincerely hope you're going to be there. And let me go back to that one. Steve Williamson has since come back and said, not sure on any Manitou forklifts. Well, you started the ball rolling. You've got time to do a little bit of homework. Now, somebody, Jacopo, has just joined us over on Instagram. I wonder if that's the Jacopo that I know. Hope it is. If it is, good morning to you. Thank you for being here. Haven't seen you for a while. Looking forward to seeing you again very soon. So let me get rid of that. I'll tell you what, let me just give you one more. There you are. Obviously, it is a Manitou forklift. And yes, it does have a full set of wheels. Doesn't really tell you too much, but that's what we're working with. If anyone knows their way around Manitou forklifts, please let us know in the chat. Let me take that away and play you a bit of this, because we've got yet more wheel loaders to bring you. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if that was the Jacopo that I know, but I haven't had time to do it. I'll get back to that in just a moment. You don't have to worry about what I'm doing in the quietness of my own room. Having gone back to find out exactly when and where the Plantworks exhibition's gone, I've completely lost my track. So bear with me 1 second while I find myself again. Yes. Yes, I know what I was about to say. We haven't heard from XCMG for quite some time. They're probably busy conquering new parts of the world, I would imagine. So when I spotted a new XCMG wheel loader film, I grabbed it and tucked it away for safekeeping. And now, on a day in which we've already featured 2 wheel loaders, and we're about to feature another one, I'm completing the initial hat trick with this. No idea why they cut it off in the way that they did, but yeah, nice film. We had Ken Hatcher back, having just heard the news that the next outing of, the sixth outing, should I say, of Plantworks is taking place in Newark. He says that's a long way again and does a little angry face. It's got to be somewhere, Ken. Got to be somewhere. And there are very few places in the UK that have got the space to accommodate something of the size and magnitude and traffic levels of a Plantworks. So, personally, would I like one to take place in Surrey right on my doorstep? Of course I would. Am I happy to travel? Yes, I am, because the industry needs a Plantworks, and it's getting one. It happens to be in Newark, hardly convenient for me, hardly convenient for Ken, certainly not convenient for our friend Footy, and probably not very convenient for Gary Muirhead and Steve Williamson either. But we need to put it somewhere, and I'm glad they're putting it. Somewhere. Let's have a look. XCMG have Molson in Scotland now selling XCMG. Yes, we do. Well, you do indeed. You do indeed. And did I see Gordon's has taken on the Devilon brand as well up in your part of the world, Gary? I think I saw that announcement yesterday, which means I'm fairly sure that the DD130. The Develon Dozer will actually be making its, I think it's its UK debut anyway, at Scott Plant, which is like a week away or thereabouts. So you will get to see it in the flesh. I saw it at Con Expo last year, but this is it making its landfall for the first time. So as Gary is going to be at Scott Plant, you get to see it up close and personal. Let us know what you think. Looking forward to hearing from you. Yes, we do need to do a thing after XCMG, which is a little bit of this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
And yes, apparently my thoughts on Gordon's taking on the Develon brand was not a fever dream. It was absolutely true. Gary Muirhead backing me up there. Yes, Gordon's have got the whole of Scotland. It's a good deal. It's a good deal. Develon makes some fantastic machines. And I do think, that DD130, I know the market for little dozers is not huge, but it looks the part. Or at least I think so. Let us know what you think. We still haven't decided what our mystery machine is. We know it's a Manitou forklift of some description. That's a bit more, that kind of confirms exactly what we're saying. It is a Manitou forklift. But what I'm looking for is a specific model. If you've got any thoughts on any of that, then please let us know. Just when you thought we were all wheel loaded out, we've got one more in store for you. Only this one is very, very different. I mentioned after the Case 651G film at the top of the show, the machine was not overly different to other wheel loaders in its class. Well, the machine I'm about to show you is different, very different indeed. First of all, it's a hybrid. Second of all, it's designed to load, haul, and dump. And the third thing is that it does all of that below ground.
The new series of Joy Hybrid Diesel LHDs are the first electric drive load haul dumps. Powered by the patented SR hybrid drive system, these machines offer faster acceleration, lower fuel consumption, lower heat rejection, and best-in-class breakout and rim pull compared to other LHDs in their class. These key advantages are enabled through the system's unique ability to store energy and put it to use when it is most needed. How does the SR hybrid drive system work? During propulsion, diesel energy is converted to electric energy. An SR generator provides power to the motors and the wheels to make the machine move. During braking, when the operator eases off the speed control pedal, the flow of energy from the diesel engine stops. Machine momentum keeps the motors rotating. Energy now flows from the motors to be stored in the Kinetic Energy Storage System, or KES unit, as the traction system slows the machine. After the machine has stopped digging or dumping its load and is ready to move again, the operator presses on the speed control pedal. The KES starts to supply stored energy, while at the same time, the diesel engine also begins supplying energy. Two sources of energy are working simultaneously to provide the equivalent of one 400 horsepower engine being boosted by another 550 horsepower engine. This recapture, storage and redirection of energy can lead to a significant productivity increase. In a typical block cave mining operation, these machines are required to make many stops, starts and turns. The SR hybrid drive system enables the 18HD and 22HD to accelerate much faster than comparable machines, which allows them to get from the draw point to the crusher and back again much quicker. Over the course of time, that can lead to as much as a 20% increase in tonnes moved. Significant increases in productivity can be achieved while using less horsepower and consuming far less diesel fuel, in some cases up to 30% less. Using less fuel reduces the machine's overall cost of operation and offers additional benefits related to human health and safety, primarily reductions in diesel emissions and heat. This contributes to the protection of the mine's most valuable human assets, while potentially reducing its costs related to ventilation requirements. The mine could have the option of either operating with a lower level of ventilation than would be required with other machines, or operating a larger number of Joy LHDs without increasing ventilation. The operator cab was designed with a focus on operator comfort as well as productivity. An extended footwell allows the operator to sit in a more ergonomic position, particularly important over long shifts. The intuitive operator interface screen, combined with the uncomplicated controls of an electric drive, makes the 18HD and 22HD very easy to use. There are no gears, no clutch and no transmission, just a simple forward and reverse switch. This results in almost effortless operation for a seasoned veteran, while training for new operators becomes much more straightforward. And while they are extremely powerful, the Joy LHDs run very smoothly, helping to reduce operator fatigue. In addition to all its other cost-saving and productivity benefits, the SR hybrid drive system provides an unprecedented level of reliability. Maintenance is minimised due to the absence of a transmission, torque converter and differentials, in addition to a reduction in the necessary lubricating fluids. Availability of the 18HD and 22HD is higher than mechanical drive machines due to the reduction of major driveline components. And while other manufacturers utilise off-the-shelf componentry, the SR hybrid drive machine components have been specifically designed for long life in high-production hard rock mining applications. With lower emissions and reduced fuel consumption, the Joy 18HD and 22HD have been designed to be the most productive and deliver the lowest total cost of ownership of any LHDs in their class. These machines are powerful additions to the long line of smart, innovative products and systems that enable significant cost savings and remove people from harm's way. Joy's proven history of performance and reliability is now being applied to hard rock underground mining.
Yeah, I've got no personal desire to work below ground, but if I had to, I think doing it behind the wheel of one of those wouldn't be quite so bad. Very tight-looking cab, says Dan Cullen, but he also says, nice bit of kit. Now we've had, I'm going to throw this up on the screen, we've had another guess on our mystery machine. I can tell you it's come from our friend Mick, who says a Manitou MI25. It is not. You're getting closer, but it's not, and there's only one more film to come, so I could still win based on that. There you are. Just goes to show that it is most definitely a lift truck. If you've got any guesses on that. Now, let me take that away very temporarily because Dan Cullen, I think it was, yes, it was Dan Cullen, has just said Mervyn Lambert, who was a Doosan distributor, has moved to XCMG now. I hadn't heard that as news, but yes, he has. There you see it. And I can only assume that this must be very early doors because obviously you can see that he run Takuchi and what have you. But if you go to the XCMG part, It rolls over and says, new XCMG plant sales, looking for a new plant. So learn more, you click learn more, and there are currently no products that match this selection. So I'm guessing that this is such hot news that they are still populating the website. But thank you very much indeed for sharing this, Dan. With us, Dan. Obviously, Mervyn Lambert. I interviewed Mervyn Lambert about more than 30 years ago when he was a little plant hirer tucked up in East Anglia somewhere. But yeah, he's come a long way since then. So thank you very much indeed for that, Dan. And he also says, great name, Joy. Yeah, it is a joy, isn't it? Isn't it? I think it is. Right, let's go back. There's the mystery machine that we're working with. Let me take that away. You've got, well, the length of the film that comes after this. The planning on this show often leaves a lot to be desired. I'm sure most of you already know that. In fact, some might argue there is no planning at all. However, back in January, we attended the Intermat press days over in Paris, during which we conducted and filmed lots of interviews looking ahead to what might be on display at the show itself next week. We've slowly leaked out those films ever since, basically to help build excitement and anticipation and to give you a sneak preview of what's coming up. Including today's episode, we have just 3 more shows to bring you before the show itself begins. And we have exactly 3 more show preview films for you as well. See, there is some planning goes into this. So let's begin the Intermat countdown, 3, 2, 1 with Engcon. And I need to drag this off my hard drive because it's another enormous file, courtesy of my son and heir. Where are we? Now, why am I not seeing that? It was here a moment ago. Now, that is very strange. That is very strange indeed. Has it gone sideways? It hasn't. Bear with me for 1 second. I may need to pull this down again. Just bear with me. We can make these things happen on the fly. It's coming down the pipe as we speak. Anybody spotting the irony? The fact that I said that our planning was much improved. Let's have a look, see if it's down the pipes yet. It's nearly here. Oh, come on. There we go. At long last.
Patrick, and we will be really happy to welcome you on the Intermat and test the machine. We will have 3 machines. Yes, it's good to see the people on the field during the exhibition, because our goal is to meet the end user. We will show the new generation on the machine, and the machine will be equipped with the new generation, and our driver will be able to show and to present the whole aspect of this product. So we will use a special new app. The DC2 today is using on the platform Android platform, and the new generation DC3 will be available on the iOS 2. We will have the 2 platforms. The new generation 3 is a smoothie product for using. They're more easy to use, more easy to install, more easy to follow up after the sales. Something more focused on the good connection between the machine and our products, with the same language, can to can, same connector than the machine, and also hydraulic parts rethinking. About, for example, if you have a if you have to dig in the sand, you have to the machine 100% of the hydraulic force. Tomorrow, with the new generation, if you will need only 20%, we will ask 20% as efforts for the machine. That means save consumption. The products are adapted, but we are still far away from the Nordic country, because the Nordic country they are in advance to compare with all of us. But we are on the good way to increase and to grow. The potential is huge. We currently cover more or less to be honest 10% in France, for example, and we have 90% in front of us. We can have a big long potential and way to reach that. They have the opportunity and the possibility to test the machine. That is different to compare with the other exhibition. If you go to Boma, if you go to Con Expo, you can see a demonstration, but you can't test the machine. At Intermat, you will be able to test the machine.
Thanks, Lou. I know my mic was still on. I in actual fact, well, I say I knew. I clicked it off and then somehow managed to click it back on again. So sorry if you could hear me heavy breathing in the background. It wasn't aimed at anyone in particular. Lou, I apologise in advance. Mick Norton has just said, why are so many pre-show previews hell-bent on sending me to the off switch? I can only apologise. There's only 2 more to put up with. Well, at least there are only 2 more of those to look forward to, Intermat-wise. I'm hoping we're going to be doing some Hillhead ones at some point. Let's have a look. Is that the same Joy as in Joy Mining that make tunnel boring machines? I think they did the Channel Tunnel Machines, did a job in their yard at Tuxford years ago. I think it is. Yeah, I mean, I think Joy is, and I don't know whether they bought the whole lot, but Joy is now part of the Komatsu organisation. So whether they bought the tunnel boring machines as well, but it does kind of make sense. Tunnel boring machines plus the loader hauler dumpers for underground work. Footy says, why can't they, and they being plant works, rotate it around the country, have 1 year in Scotland, 1 year in Newark, and then 1 year in Devon? It would be better. Yeah, listen, we'd all like our own personal plant works, wouldn't we? But be sensible about it. When you really think it through, the chances are the organisers of plant works are going to have to do some work at the Newark Showground to make it ready and suitable for the arrival of plant works. Things like, they may have to put in additional parking, may have to put in additional roads, they may have to prep the ground to make sure there's no underground services or utilities that could be dug up during the demonstrations. All of that work, and every couple of years to do that at different locations, just makes no good sense, also makes no financial sense. It would make all the exhibits much more expensive. It just doesn't make sense. And I realise, I'm not. Nobody's paying me. Nobody's paying me here to promote plant works or anything like that. But you just have to roll with the punches. Do I really want to go to Paris for a week to see Intermat? Paris is not, I'll be absolutely honest with you, Paris is not my favourite place in the world. If somebody said they were moving Intermat to Barcelona, I'd be much happier about it. But you have to roll with the punches, don't you? There you are. It's trying to secure a venue and being able to dig. Yeah, that is absolutely the point. There is so much. I mean, bearing in mind, the announcement has come today that the next plant works, which is 23rd to the 25th of September next year, 2025. So it's still 18 months away. My guess is they've been working on that for about a year, and they've now got 18 months and counting to get that site ready. To make sure that the drainage is right. So if we do get a torrential downpour, the show can still go ahead. They're probably going to put down trackway or some sort of path system as well. As Lewis said, you've got to prep the ground to make sure that, the first demonstration doesn't go through a water pipe or an electric mains or something like that. There is so much work that goes into putting an exhibition on. It kind of reminds me of, we talk about this quite a bit, and we do have something coming up on this about explosive demolition. Explosive demolition, when you look at it, it's like 8 to 10 seconds of, here's a big bang, building hits the ground, wasn't that fantastic? The chances are somebody's been working on that for a year. And plant works or any exhibition is exactly the same. I don't know if you saw on the news feeds today, the latest and probably the final blast before Hillhead took place this week. They brought down thousands of tons of rock for people to move about and crush and break and everything else in preparation for Hillhead. That's 10 weeks away. They are fortunate in that they've got a permanent home, a permanent fixed home. Everyone knows where to find it. It's in Buxton in Derbyshire. We all know where to find it. They've got no worries about going through underground cables and gas mains and that kind of thing. Plant works, they absolutely have. So they've got 18 months to make sure that show is absolutely all singing and all dancing. You can't be moving that around. It's not a circus. Ultimately, it's not. You can't just pitch a tent and get on with it. You've got so much that goes into it. So there you are. That's what I'm saying. And Lou agrees. What Mark said. Yeah, and can hear. Good. I'm glad you can hear me now. Wish you hadn't heard me when I was heavy breathing into the microphone, but there you know. What am I going to say? It's a very good showground. Plenty of indoor and outdoor space, loads of parking too, and great access by road. Good. I mean, certainly the last couple have been absolutely fine to get in and out of. No problem with that whatsoever. So looking forward to seeing the new showground. I've never been to the Newark showground. I'm assuming they do maybe agricultural stuff there generally. I don't know. Not been there before. If anybody knows anything about that, please let me know. I can tell you. There we are. Lou Carney saying thanks, Jim Turner. Good. I can tell you that our mystery machine went unanswered today. I kind of assumed we were on the very periphery of, despite the fact that it's made by a construction equipment manufacturer, we're on the periphery of what counts as construction equipment. But I can tell you that is what we were working with. It is a rough terrain forklift, so it does have applications in construction. I wasn't completely cheating, but the model you're looking at right there is the Manitou MT30-4. And the fact that you failed to get it means that I get this, and I'll get some of this as well. Yeah, that's quite enough of that. I can't bask too long in my own glory, but yeah, we'll be back with another mystery machine for you on the morrow. We've had comments coming in. Let's have a look. Are these much advertised exhibitions actually beneficial in overall sales to the major manufacturers? It's a hard one to call that. It is a hard one to call. Bearing in mind, I mean, I go back to the old SED days, and I was very closely allied because I was working for the publishing company that owned it, basically. There was always lots of talk about business being done at the show. And I always blew kind of hot and cold on whether that was actually the case. Titans Demo, good morning to you over on Instagram. There was a bit of a PR spin whereby somebody had kind of, I'm going to buy, let's say, I'm going to buy 10 Thwaites dumpers. The deal was already done. We've agreed the price. We've agreed credit details and everything else, but we'll come along to SED or Plantworks or Hillhead, and we'll do the handshake, in which case we can now claim that that's an SED or a Plantworks or a Hillhead deal that has been done. So I'm well aware of that. But I also think that the big thing with any exhibition, be it Intermat, Bauma, ConExpo, Plantworks or Hillhead, I don't think anybody in this business actually makes snap decisions. Maybe on smaller stuff, if you're passing by a stand at Plantworks and somebody's selling a generator for 300 quid, you might think, I'll buy one of those. I'll put it in the back of the van on the way home. You might do that, but you're not making major capital equipment purchases or orders on the spur of the moment. However, I think where exhibitions work, and particularly those localized exhibitions like a Plantworks, is you will have people going around looking at all that's on offer, where it's being demonstrated and being showcased, and you will get to the point where maybe 6 months down the line, 18 months down the line, 3 years down the line, you'll hit an application and it'll be, how are we going to do? Do you remember that thing we saw at Plantworks? That thing? That's what we need, and I think that's where it really counts. So I think even if you ask the bigger exhibitors at plant works, can you at the end of a show, can you justify it in machines sold? The answer would probably be no. Fast forward a couple of years and ask them the same question again, I think the answer would more likely be yes. And bearing in mind, I mean, obviously it's early days, they've only just announced exactly when and where it is. But my guess is probably 85% of the people that go to plant works as an exhibitor in September next year will have been to a previous plant works, if not all of the previous plant works. They go back. And bearing in mind the cost and everything else, the cost and the inconvenience, you've got to take your sales staff off the road and stick them in a field in Peterborough or now Newark. You're going to stick them in a field, you're going to have to pay for their hotel, you have to wine them and dine them. You're going to do all of that for basically a whole week by the time you've built the stand and taken it back down again. You've got to do that for a whole week. You're only doing that if you can prove that is worthwhile. If anybody that has exhibited at a plant works does the maths, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months later, and says, it cost us 10,000 quid to be at plant works and we got sod all back, are they going to sign up again? I don't think they are. So the very fact that there is a lot of repeat business, I think, goes to show that there is a lot of value there. Anthony Nicholson has just joined us and has applauded. I don't know what he's applauding, but listen, I would take applause regardless. Even if it wasn't even aimed at me, I will take that applause and I'll run with it. Not a problem at all. Good morning, Anthony. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Who else do we have here? Footy says, I won't be coming in. I'm not driving all that way too far. What are you going to do? What is the expression? There is an expression for this. You can't please all the people all the time. You really can't. And, ultimately, what are you going to do? You can't have a private plant works for individuals. And let's face it, Newark is closer to the middle of the country than Devon. I'm just saying. Just to prove the point to disprove what I was saying, actually, Con Expo, says Steve Williamson, the Takuchi we used to demo with was sold as is at the show. There you are. It does happen. Mick says, on the same lines as Mick's comment, years ago, most machines were either purchased on recommendation or what someone saw working or a rep coming into the office. I can still remember ex-army rigs being used and even adapted for use. Yeah, I tell you what, this does throw up a conversation that we've had in the past. And that is, when was the last time you were sold something? And I don't mean specifically for work, although if you are the person that makes the ultimate decision on your machines, your attachments, and that kind of thing. When was the last time you were sold something, as opposed to when was the last time you bought something? I remember back in the day, when we used to do the PR for Leverton, the Caterpillar dealer down south in the south of England. And their salesmen, they were proper hard-nosed, beat your door down, try and, put your arm up your back, get you to part with your hard-earned cash for a Caterpillar dozer. They would be out on the road. Now I get the impression that a lot of it is done, online. A lot of the research is done by potential customers online, and they are going to buy rather than being sold. But if anyone can tell me differently, I'd love to hear from you. Steve Williamson says, most of the attachments were sold all around America, had a truckload of stuff sold to someone in New York, and some went to Canada. Maybe that is more the American way. I don't know. I mean, as I say, Lou will back me up on this. There is business done. I mean, I remember being at a Hillhead once. I was on a stand. Whose stand was I on? I think I was on the Montebear stand. Or it would have been Improved Performances or IP back in the day. And a guy turned up and he was trying to buy some breakers. And they said, well, no, we can't sell to you. This guy was based out of the Middle East, sort of Abu Dhabi or somewhere like that. And they said, we can't sell to you because, our dealer agreement means that we can only sell breakers, Montebear breakers, in the UK. And the guy said, but I will pay cash. And he literally, while I was stood there, literally opened a briefcase, like you see in the movies, opened a briefcase full to the brim with money. Yeah, cash money. Don't get to see that so often anymore. Gaz Evans. Now, there is somebody disproving everything I've just said. I mean, Gaz Evans models, they're not the cheapest. I mean, they are the best, but they're not the cheapest. But he does do very well at shows like Plantworks, because that is the sort of thing that you could literally make a snap decision on. I like the look of that Cat 320 model. I'm taking it with me. There you go. There's my credit card. But by and large, yes, Lou Carney says 100% of our Plantworks construction equipment exhibitors would not keep rebooking if they were not selling. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Bearing in mind, and I've got another couple of comments here on all things exhibition. Bearing in mind how closely companies monitor their return on investment these days. I mean, but when you think, I mean, Intermat next week is taking place without, for example, Case. I'm not singling out Case, but Case have made a decision not to do Intermat. There will have been meetings about that. Can we afford to be there, or can we afford not to be there, even though our rivals are going to be there? You look at Volvo ducked out of Bauma, and they did so because they were hosting their own Volvo Days, which they're doing again this year, and I'm very happy to say I'm going to be going to that. But they've looked at the maths and they've decided. Now, in this instance, they are not only are they doing their own Volvo Days, but they're also doing they're doing Intermat next week as well. So they've done the maths and they've decided we could do this, but we're also doing that. They will have analysed that very, very closely. Anthony Nicholson, head honcho at Conker, the people that make those phones and devices, tablets that you can't destroy. I mean, don't try. That's been stupid, but he is the head honcho over at Conker. I believe in any industry, trade shows are more a place to meet people, and as you say, refer back to people, products you have met, seen at a later date. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, listen, I'm probably not a good example because I don't really sell a product as such, but the number of times, I will get a call 6 months, 12 months, 2 years after an exhibition. Hi, it's Dave from such and such. You might remember we met at Con Expo. Well, I'd like to. That's the way it works. This is very much a people business. And where else? I take on board everything that Footy has said, but where else could you get to? If you're in the market for a mini excavator, for example, you could phone around Takeuchi and Yanmar and Kubota and XCMG and Hitachi and Komatsu and Caterpillar and JCB. You could do that, and you could get all of their local representatives to come along and to sit down. How long would that take? I mean, how long would the phone calls take? Day, 2 days? Then you've got to sit down with the buggers, which is probably another couple of days as well. Alternatively, jump in your car, you take yourself up to Newark, and you can see them all in the same place at the same time. And not only that, you can compare and contrast. You can look at the JCB, you can walk 100 yards and you can look at the Hitachi. You can walk another 50 yards and you can see the Kubota. You can literally do a side-by-side comparison. Where else could you do that? That's my point. Little fact, I remember a Case machine being used, 5 London-based demo boys. It went from one job to another, so it was paid for by 5 different firms. Sensible maths to me. Andy Hare, the main man at Northern Track, says shows are okay for brand awareness. The problem lies in the expense that comes straight off the bottom line. In the years when I did shows, it was rare to make sales off the stand, which is what I'm saying. As you said, most of these deals were already being done and simply shouted about on the showground. SED was okay, but I got sick of being leeched for every last penny, every extra for everything. The last day I ever went was a washout. Stand flooded, and I was running around trying to dish out cash to get some wood chippings put down. Again, I'm not in the business of defending exhibition. The problem we've got in this industry is, I've already said, people are not going to make a snap decision. The shows, to my mind, the shows that work the best are those where you can actually demonstrate the product. You can see it. At Plantworks, you can see it working. If you go to Intermat, you can, on some stands, you can even have a go yourself. You can actually get a proper feel for the machine. But if you're going to do that, you've got to do it outdoors. And if you're doing it outdoors, you're kind of risking the UK weather. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And listen, I mean, going back, I do go back to the SED years. And the show used to take place at one point behind Whipsnade Zoo. there was a big steep hill that led down to the SED showground, which was by comparison quite tiny from memory. But there was kind of a channel. So if it rained, basically virtually all the water that fell out of the sky ended up on the Thwaite stand. Was it convenient? No, it wasn't. But Thwaites insisted on the same stand year after year after year because it paid for them to be there. Jim Turner says, I'd like to see more show offers at these places, but they've dropped off over the last 20 or so years. We got a good deal on a plant trailer years ago as it saved the manufacturer taking it back with them. And Augertalk offered me a good deal on their crusher bucket at the last plant works. Yeah. I know MB Crusher at the last Hillhead did exactly the same. Worsley Plant, who is one of their UK dealers, had their display in one place, and all of that product was either going to customers or was going back to their yard. But MB Crusher were there under their own steam, and they didn't want to be taking all of that product back to Italy with them. So they were doing some very, very good deals. Worth looking out for. There's our man from Conquer again. In my experience, trade shows. No, I've already done that one. That's the one I was after. No, it's the same comment twice. I need to read it before I throw it up on the screen. Let's have a look. Mick Norton, 1982. Komatsu sold the Sultan of Oman's land forces a fleet of earth movers, 3 million quid in 1982. It's a lot of money. In competition with CAT equivalents, Komatsu physically proved their claim of 98% spares availability anywhere in the Middle East within 24 hours. Going Komatsu was a no-brainer at the time, and in some cases still is. And yes, in some cases, try before you buy. Not every product, we all know how SED of old works. We know how Intermat works. We know how Plant works. But try before you buy. Yeah, there's Lou saying. That was SED, Andy here. We have moved on since then with the Trackway. To a large degree, yeah. So saying that, was it the first one or was it the second one? I know there was one, maybe in the second one, where myself and Fred went to the show and we arrived on the first day, cameras in bags, and that's where they stayed for 3 days. The rain was coming in sideways. I mean, just having said that, my job is very different to yours. If you're in the business, and I realise this is not the case for exhibitors, but certainly for those that are attending shows, if you're in the construction business, you're pretty much used to having the rain pouring down on your head. You're used to being cold. You're used to having the wind in your face, and you're used to possibly even snow as well. A couple of hours at a show, not going to bother you too much. As I say, not the same for exhibitors who basically, a lot of them are office-based, and they're just basically stood there waiting for somebody to pitch up in the pouring rain. Not such a bundle of laughs, but yeah, let's have a look. Show-only deals like it. That's what a lot of the executive hire show exhibitors do. Good to know. Andy Hare says, accepted fully, Louise. It's just a lot of money off the bottom line, and those extras always mount up. Sadly for us, it got too expensive to take care and do it justice. I wonder if there's a few contra deals to be had for you, Mr. Hare, hanging your product off the end of somebody else's excavator, for example. I know other people do quite a bit of that. Always amazes me when you go to particularly Balmer. I think Balmer was a real eye-opener. It seemed like Steel Wrist had been to every excavator manufacturer in the world and said, here's one of our products. Hang it off your machine. Loads and loads of that. I love the shows for the merch and hats. We already knew that. I wonder if any of the machines at these exhibitions are already sold to someone near where they're shown. Would hate to pay the cost of moving them all the way back to the factory or wherever they're parked up. Yes, I know some of them are. And certainly when you get to the major exhibitions like a Balmer, like Con Expo, and certainly when you get to Mine Expo, some of these big mining trucks, mining excavators like the Liebherr stand at Balmer, those machines are built to order. So the reason that they're there is that they have been built for a customer, and Liebherr has done a deal with the customer. Can you just hold off for a fortnight while Balmer takes place? We'll have your machine on display there, and then we'll break it all down, put it on a low loader, and then it will arrive for you to do some work. That's precisely how it works. As I say, those machines are built to order. Not so much the case with skid steers, mini excavators, and that kind of thing. But again, you do tend to have a lot of involvement from local dealers. be that a national distributor, so they're taking product from a manufacturer overseas, or it might even be the local distributor. So somebody based near Newark will probably have the machines supplied from there rather than hauling them up from, or hauling them down from Scotland, perhaps. Excuse me. I've talked enough. We've been going for an hour and 5 minutes. So let me do what I always do at this part of the show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat. Blah-de-blah-de-blah. We're going to see what you're all saying today. We're also going to look at your favourite decades. I'd like to know your favourite decades, if you would be so kind. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I shall return. I'll be back with the Craic after this. Yeah, go back to the old music just to make a change. How are we all doing this morning? Thank you very much indeed for all the chat. I'm going to go back to the very beginning because I know we did cover quite a bit of ground early doors. What time was Dan Cullen here this morning? I think he set a new record, actually. He said that top of the morning, and he said that at 8:09. 1 hour and 51 minutes before the show started. I don't want to encourage this kind of behaviour, but I will tell you that we normally have the show ready on YouTube by about noon. You could even leave a comment a day early if you. I mean, don't. Feel free, you can. You won't get an answer, but you could do that. Big Bid Auctions over on Instagram have just joined us. Good morning to Big Bid Auctions. I wonder what they do for a living. Does what it says on the tin, I think. Let's have a look. And this was Dan Cullen has already started doing his own countdowns. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and all systems are go. Mainly. Who was the first official? It was Gary Muirhead. Morning, Gary. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Thank you for topping up our list of questions of the day. Much appreciated. Mark Whiting. Good morning, Mark. Hope you're fit and well, my friend. Andy Darvell looking all marvellous and giving us his customary welcome. Morning, morning, morning. Do you say that in person, Andy? When you see somebody early in the morning, is that the way you greet them? I'd like to think it is. Ruth Anthony, are you not back to work yet? Yeah, but she's sometimes mornings, sometimes afternoons, sometimes evenings. There's Footy, there's Jim Turner, there's Glenn Johnston, and there's Lou Carney. And, I'm going to throw this back up again, just in case you weren't here at the very top of the show. And I know we've been speaking about it recently, or just before the break. But Plantworks, episode 6, 23rd to the 25th of September, 2025. Be there or be cube-shaped. I'll be there. Well, I'm saying I'll be there. If this show is bought out by a big conglomerate and I can afford to retire, I may pick and choose. If that doesn't happen, and it does seem unlikely at the moment, I'll be there. So I look forward to seeing you there. I've got the wrong kind of display up there. That's the wrong one as well. That's the one I want to be on the screen as well. Let me take that away. Andy Hare says, "Are we halfway to Friday yet?" I think in about an hour we can call that halfway. Nearly there. That's a long way to drive up there for me. It is. You can't please all the people all the time. As I say. You do have the Royal Cornwall show. It's not a plant works. It's not even a plant show, but you do have that, which is a bit closer. So, what can I say? What can I possibly say? There's Happy Hump Day. All you animals, thank you very much indeed for that. My question, there's the link for today's column, which is Show Me the Value, which somebody very kindly said they enjoyed. I think that was Steve Williamson said he enjoyed that, so thank you for that. Jim Turner, just to let you know, the show itself, the Plantworks show, will be on the very doorstep of Mr. Turner and Mrs. Turner, more importantly. Diggerman blog. Nick Drews just joined us over on Instagram. Haven't seen you for a while, Nick. Hope to see you in France next week. Good morning to you. Yeah, it's on Jim Turner's doorstep, and he is encouraging his wife to make us a Victoria sponge. Sarah Jane, I'm looking at you. with longing in my eyes. I like cake. To go to Newark is 235 miles, which would take me 4.5 hours. Too far. I ain't doing it. That's okay. That's okay. I fully understand, and it's not cheap. You know, the cost of fuel these days, I fully understand it. But the way I look at these things is you in your life, you only get so many opportunities, don't you? You know, I could get all stroppy and say, I'm not driving to bloody Newark. It's, you know, and you imagine I'll be sat here doing this, knowing full well that you lot were up at Plant Works having a fine old time and doing a knees up at lunchtime. I'd hate that. Then again, it's what I do for a living, I guess. So, yeah. Question of the day was, what was your favourite episode? Your favourite decade? Nobody, as far as I can tell, has actually said the 2020s. I don't think anybody even said the 2010s. Personally, I'm definitely going with the 80s. If you saw my YouTube history, you would know that my musical taste began roughly 1979 and ended around about 1986. And there's not much either way. And fashion too, yes, love me a shoulder pad, absolutely. Loved having a bit of long hair. Frankly, loved having a bit of hair, which is long gone, I'm afraid. But yeah, it's definitely the 80s for me. Steve Williamson is here for the last day today, 7 a.m. flight tomorrow morning. I'm assuming that Steve is obviously getting the stand ready as well with the mighty Kinsoffer. Can't wait to see him over in France. Isn't it weird? And going back to our discussions about shows, I have met Steve, I don't know, 3 or 4 times face to face. I don't think I've never met him in his native Scotland or in my native England. I've seen him in Germany, I've seen him in America, and I'm about to see him in France. Never seen him in the UK. Isn't that weird? Yes, there is Steve saying a nice article today, was a good read. Well, as I say, I mean, go and take a look. You will recognise parts of it because parts of it actually came from you lot. Very much that in this instance. There's Mick Norton saying good morning. There's Lou Carney saying late 80s, early 90s. See, she's a little bit younger than me. Quite a bit younger than me. Mine was definitely the early 80s. The song. Everybody recognises the name Ultravox, I think, from the song Vienna, which obviously was an absolute anthem of the 80s. But for me, I was turned on to Ultravox, which remains to this day my favourite band of all time. There was a song called Sleepwalk on the same album as Vienna. Somebody played it for me at school, or somebody I knew at school played it for me, and that was it. That was the day I woke up and thought, this is the music I will listen to for the rest of my life. Turns out, it actually was. Jim Turner loved the 90s. Loved the 90s. Well, we know he likes a bit of a banger of a sort of a ravey type tune. Was that your thing, Jim? Is that why it is? Love to know. Guesses on the Mystery Machine. Dan Cullen was going for the 80s and the 90s. Yeah, they're not... being sort of sentimental and what have you about it. I mean, all my children were born in the 90s, so you know it was a great time and everything else. But the 80s, just the 80s. Ken Hatcher is here. Good morning, Ken. Even though it's a long way from Wales, I'm sincerely hoping you will make the trek from your part of the world up to Newark in 2025. I would travel back to the 1960s in a heartbeat, says Mick Norton. Yep. I mean, it was just the decade in which I was born. I don't remember too much about the 60s, to be perfectly honest. I mean, obviously, you know, harking back to England winning the World Cup, but apart from that, the 60s were largely wasted on me. But yeah, I as I say, grew up in the 70s, but really came of age in the 80s. See if we've got any more offers on that. Lots and lots of comments there. And there's Mick Norton again saying, Case Shuffle, never liked the concept of a single ram for the bucket. Interesting take. Anybody got any thoughts on that? Love to hear from you. Guesses on the Mystery Machine. Sarah Jane Turner throwing a spanner, if not a wooden spoon, into our respective works, saying, Jim Turner, when would I have time to make cakes? Can you freeze a Victoria sponge? Is that possible? I don't know. I'm not an expert. But, if it's 18 months away, could you not knock up a couple of dozen and wang them in the freezer? You have a farming operation. I'm sure you've got a big freezer there. Yeah, knock up a nice big batch of Victoria sponge cakes, stick them in the freezer, and then dole them out as us lots arrive. I would imagine, if she's got any sense, Sarah J. Turner is probably booking a holiday from the 23rd to the 25th of September next year as we speak. Let me roll through this. We did answer that, but I'm going to answer it again because it is current and we are talking about it at Plantworks, Newark Showground, 25 September 2025. That's where you will find it. There is Gary Muirhead at Molson in Scotland now selling XCMG. And listen, Molson, if you are listening, you can steal this. I don't mind. But Molson move metal. They do that. So of all the dealerships, I think that XCMG have landed in the UK so far, Molson unquestionably will be the biggest. They will definitely sell some machines. And yes, Gary confirmed Gordons have got the whole of Scotland for Devellon, and as a result of that, the Devellon DD130 dozer will make its first, I think it's its first UK appearance at Scott Plant end of next week. Look forward to seeing it. I won't be there in person, but I'm hoping that somebody, Gary, I'm hoping somebody will take a photograph and send it to me. And there's Dan Cullen confirming that Mervyn Lambert has changed allegiances. He was a Doosan distributor, Devellon, but has moved to XCMG now, and we proved it. He most certainly has done that. Going back to favourite decades, Mick Norton says, question of the day, 1960s, sat on my Cat D8H dozer in the middle of nowhere, donkey engine breaking the dawn silence. Oh, this is getting poetic. Let me do that again. On my Cat D8H dozer in the middle of nowhere, donkey engine breaking the dawn silence, sputtering into life, and a kick over of the main decompression, sending plumes of black smoke into the atmosphere. 60 years before net zero nonsense. Heaven. Ah, yes. Them's was the days. Black smoke all about. It's weird that we consider those the good old days, isn't it? It's a bit like when you go to a family party and they start singing Roll Out the Barrel, because what wedding isn't complete without a song from the Blitz? I don't know if Roll Out the Barrel was from the Blitz, but you get the idea. You know what I'm talking about. Why can't they rotate it around the country? You have 1 year in Scotland, 1 year in Newark, and 1 year in Devon. I think we covered that. The other point as well, which I haven't mentioned there, the exhibition companies generally, or the exhibition organising companies, are generally quite a considerate bunch. They try to avoid stepping on each other's toes. So Plantworks pitching up in Scotland would most definitely tread on Scott Plant's toes. I'd like to think that the people behind Scott Plant are way more decent than that. In the same way, I don't expect Scott Plant to make landfall in England anytime soon. They do their bit, we do our bit, and so on down the line. Let's have a look. I think we answered all of those. Just going back to talking about shows, yes, the Takuchi that was used at ConExpo by both Steve and Ed was sold after the show, as it was. Good to hear. That's the way it's. Listen, maybe that's part of one of the things that I've touched on in today's column. If we are looking at reducing our carbon footprint, I feel awfully guilty every time I jump on a plane to go to an overseas exhibition. So, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Maybe that becomes a consideration in the future. Do we really want to be shipping machines around the world or across continents and that kind of thing? In which case, do we use only local supply, from the local dealership and that kind of thing? Or do we send it on its way to the customer? We'd stop off for a little while and then move on. Interesting times. And there is Lou backing up everything I said, 100%. Our Plantworks construction exhibition exhibitors would not keep rebooking if they were not selling. Ultimately, it's a business. I realise it's a show business, but it is a business. And if you're not moving metal, you're not going back, are you? Yeah, and listen, there will have been, not necessarily at Plantworks, but at exhibitions in the past, there will have been people that, booked late, ended up with a pretty poor slot out by the toilets. Nobody saw them. It was pissing with rain, smelly from the toilets, and they vow never to return. I understand that. But when you look at the roll call of people that will be exhibiting at Plantworks in 2025, I will lay money that 80, 85, maybe even 90% of them will have done it before. They're coming back for a reason, and it's not just to hang out with Lou Carney, attractive though that may be. Gaz Evans' stand was always mobbed. Yeah, it was. I can honestly say, Gaz Evans, I think you are the only person that I queued to see at Plantworks. Everyone else, I'd arrive at the stand and either they would welcome me with open arms because, I am a pretty big deal. Or if I couldn't get to see them straight away, I would, go away somewhere else and then come back. Gaz Evans, I queued to meet the man, the myth, the legend that is Gaz Evans. That's absolutely true. There is Anthony Nicholson from Conker saying, in my experience, trade shows are more a place to meet people, not just prospective clients. And you say, as you say, refer back to people, products you have met, seen later at a later date. Let's use them as an example. Let's use Conker as an example, just to prove the point that I made and that Anthony has just reflected there. I don't know if Conker are planning to exhibit at Plantworks. I would encourage them to do so because it is good. But let's use them as an example. So you arrive at Plantworks and you're strolling around and you bump into Anthony Nicholson and his team at Conker, and they are trying their level best to convince you to buy one of their Windows or their Android rugged devices. And you're stood there with your iPhone thinking, yeah, that's all well and good, Anthony. All very well you saying all of that, but I've got another 18 months on the contract of my iPhone. And besides, I like my iPhone. Fast forward 6 months or so, and you drop your iPhone and it breaks into a million pieces. First of all, you kick yourself for not having it insured. Second thing you think is, that bloke up at that Plantworks exhibition that was talking about rugged devices, he had a bit of a point, didn't he? So rather than phoning your local iPhone shop, maybe you phone Anthony Nicholson and say, I take back everything I said about your rugged devices. May I purchase one, please? That's how exhibitions work, in a nutshell. Am I selling this hard enough, Lou? Let me know. Let's have a look. We've done all of those. I've done all of those. Mick Saunders says, questions like, I think like many others, it have to be the 60s. Great music, great clothes, and the ladies looked great. Yeah, I have to say, I'm a huge fan of the miniskirt for very, very obvious reasons. And some of the music, not all of it, not a Beatles fan, bit of a Rolling Stones fan, I have to admit. So yes, the 60s, great music, yes, great clothes. Draw a line at the flares. So not a huge fan of that. The hair was a bit shoddy, but the ladies did indeed look great. I totally agree. If needs be on the day, I'll be sitting in Devon, being square, having a pint of Guinness and not walking around miles. They have a barbecue as well. Well, listen, if we can pull it off, we will be broadcasting live from Plantworks anyway, so we can kind of show you what you're missing, I hope. I think you need a 2-hour slot a day, Mark, as it looks like the show could... it is getting preposterous, isn't it? I mean, where are we? An hour and 24 minutes. What in the blue hell? I mean, bearing in mind, this show started out... I think the first show that we ever did, which wasn't in this format, but it was kind of like this, was less than 10 minutes. I just came on, read some news, and then let you all get on with your day. Today... who knows how long it's going to go on. Looking forward to Plantworks next year. Lou, can you get in touch so I can advertise this for you? Lou, you know where to find Dan. I'm sure he will do a good job for you on his WhatsApp groups. Graham Williams, come on. Free breakfast and lunch and VIP treatment in the media office. Yes. See, In some ways, I'm pleased about this. In other ways, I feel slightly cheated. For years, I've been attending. I'm doing one next week. I'm attending an exhibition, and us media types have always had a press office to go and hide away from the mere mortals that are strolling around the show. Not at Plantworks. At Plantworks, it's come one, come all. I had lunch with Messrs. Carney and McKenna in the press office last year, and it looks like we're opening it up again, which is bloody excellent. It really is. Somewhere to go and sit down, have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever, and just chew the fat. I think that is a fan. Of all the innovations, and I realise I have a very, very specific need and desire, of all the innovations at the last Plantworks, allowing the public into the media office, best of the lot. Best of the lot. Hats off to Lou Carney. And there's Lou saying it's once every 2 years. Yes. See, by 2027, I'm hoping it's going to be back in Newark, assuming that Newark works out okay. But 2027, if you don't go next time, the next one is 2027. Can you wait that long? Steve says, sorry guys, lots of emails today regarding the demo. Good luck to you, Steve. See you next week. What was the question of the day? The question of the day was, what is or was your favourite decade? Lol, that's a problem nowadays. Companies get away with not valuing their stuff. Is why we have this fuck it attitude and seat hopping. It's ridiculous. Totally agree. Did you see that on WhatsApp? I sent you about a building company in Devon gone down the pan. I did. We did actually talk about that last week, funnily enough. I can't remember the name. I can't remember. I don't know. I can't remember. It's a cost for some people that would love to go to Con Expo and Bauma, etc. So bloody expensive. It is. It is, which is another reason. And Steve, I'll say this to you. Obviously, I'll say this to you. Part of your job next week, obviously, will be to entertain the crowd that is there. But the other part of your job, which in some ways is actually bigger, is entertaining those that couldn't be there. Entertaining and educating. You know, you over the course of the days that you're actually performing live at Intermat, you might interact directly with 100, 200, 500 people. But through your social media channels, you can reach tens of thousands. So record everything, broadcast everything, because there will be people, lots and lots of people. I mean, even the fact that, you know, I'm traveling there by train, it's going to take me a couple of hours, but, you know, there's a lot of people that the expense or the inconvenience or the fact that they've got to work means that they will not be doing this Intermat. They may never do an Intermat. So it's my job, your job, the job of Nick Drew, Peter Haddock, Martin at the Norwegian Earth Mover, Garvin over at Mostly Diggers, to take the people with you and say, I know you can't be here, but take a look at this thing, what I have just seen. That's part of your job. Luke Carney says it's a fantastic networking opportunity. How do I emphasize that more? I'll tell you this, right? So I was at Plantworks for all 3 days last time Plantworks was on up at Peterborough. We worked with a lot of companies. We filmed a lot of companies. We filmed a lot of machines. If I was asked to name the model of any machine that I filmed, I'm just doing it in my head. I can't name one. I can remember, you know, we did a bit with Sunward, for example. We did a bit with Kubota and with Steel Wrist and Oil Quick and people like that. But I don't really remember specifics. But I can tell you the number of people that I met and specific conversations that I had with people. So networking, absolutely 100%. Steve says also working with ProLec at Intermat is fitted to the Hitachi 180 duct. Look forward to hearing that. Obviously, ProLec is now part of the Kinsoffer group. So, looking forward to seeing how that all works out. It turns out the media room is not open to the general public. It's only open. See, exclusive rights, only open to the Breakfast Club crew, which is kind of you lot. Fred was impressed with my videos yesterday. Made my day. Fred, well, wait until you see. Fred has a fresh new haircut. Yeah. But yes, he did tell me. He did tell me in passing yesterday. Mick says, stay safe, fellas. Now, talking of snow up in Jim Turner's land is welcome to it. Sorry, mate, as usual. The hound sitting cross-legged at this time of day. I can only apologise to the hound. I have dragged on rather a long while today. Dan Cullen saying, have a great day, guys. Mick Norton says, if the plant works hillheads of this world really needed publicity, why aren't you media types provisioned with niche individual... Hang on a minute, my screen's just gone weird. With niche, individual, purpose-made online facilities. We kind of are. I just need to decline this. Sorry, just answering a telephone message here. We kind of are. As I say, I don't know quite what we've got to deal with yet, and that is one of the problems of doing it at a distance. But supposedly we have a media room set aside for us next week at Intermat, so I can broadcast live. And we had it last time at Plantworks. The Wi-Fi was way better than I expected. The problem I was having was getting out, getting the content and getting back. And then obviously, you find yourself talking to somebody for half an hour in the aisles, couldn't get back in time. So I think I'll have to do my job differently. Probably send Fred out to do the collection of stuff, and I'll just tuck myself away for an hour, probably more like 2 hours, given the way that this show is going. But we will be working on that. Steve Williamson says there's a huge demo arena, like Komatsu had at Balmer. Scary, but I'm sure I'll manage once there. Still get nervous. Nothing to be nervous about. And yes, the Intermat demonstration area, it's not huge. It's kind of an offshoot of the show. But I know last time we were there, the fine folks at Komatsu put on a fantastic show. I particularly remember them demonstrating one of their dozers. They had it operating on a batter, right over on its side. Absolutely fantastic. Really good photographically. Steve says, I'll be doing a video from the other side of the diggers and dozers camera, catching you both hard at it. Kinda. You clearly don't know us very well. We don't really do hard at it. And Lou is saying, yeah, we did have an office for Mark at the show. Yes, I didn't make full use of it, I'm afraid. I need to plan my time differently. This time, I'm doing things in a different way with Intermat. I am going to the show the day before the show starts. So I will film on Tuesday to broadcast Wednesday. I'll film on Wednesday to broadcast Thursday. I'll film Thursday to broadcast on Friday, if that makes any sense. So I'm always a day ahead of myself, if you get the idea. That's what I'm planning to do. And Steve saying, can I come to the Diggers and Dozers live lounge? 110%. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. I can't even tell you where it is at the moment because I don't actually know. But we, as I say, we're working with the publishers at Route One. We are going to be doing a lot of work with those guys. One of the things that we're doing specifically is we are filming over at the FIAC Group, which is the company that owns Bomag and Dynapack as well, if I remember rightly. So we're filming with them. But then, yes, I'll be going back to all things being equal, assuming I have enough actual power and broadband, I'll be going back to that office at, probably about 10:30 French time, which will be 9:30 UK time. So by the time we roll around to 11 o'clock French time, which will be 10 o'clock time here, I'll be going live. The show will look different. Obviously, I'm not taking any of this stuff in the background, and I'm going to do it all from my laptop rather than the fancy one here with the fancy camera and the lighting and everything else. It will look a bit different, but I'm telling you, if we can do it, we will make it. We'll make it look as good as we can. Mick Norton, with the good news, should I say, reliably informed that Victoria's sponge cake can be frozen. I don't know if she's still here, but Sarah Jane Turner, you have no excuse. Between now and the 23rd of September, you can make as many cakes as you wish. Whack them in the freezer, and we'll pitch up and get rid of them for you. I promise. If you can rely on this audience for one thing, it is their ability to eat. An hour and 34 minutes later, let's go away, shall we? Let's go and do something else. I'll be back here again tomorrow for more of the same. We do have our penultimate Intermat preview for you tomorrow, and some other stuff as well, I'm sure. Don't know what it is yet because we don't plan that far out. But please, be here if you possibly can. And don't forget, I'm going to say this one last time. I'm going to be saying it a lot between now and then, actually, but between now and then, 23rd to the 25th of September, Newark Showground, Plantworks 2025. Be there or be square, and you won't get any cake. And Steve says, see you next week. Can't wait, mate. Looking forward to it. Come and say Okai the new, or whatever it is you people say up in your part. Or bonjour. Maybe we should switch to bonjour when I see you. Till then, everybody, have a good day. See you tomorrow. All the best.